Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My dear student, first year in BDS class. Today we will start with the histology of skin. Now you know that the skin is the largest and outermost organ of the body. Now what is the introduction? Skin is the largest organ of the body. It covered almost 22 square feet in adults and weight about is the 5 kilogram. The thickness of the skin varies from 0.5 millimeter in thin skin up to the 4 thick in the heel of your feet. How much thickness is? Skin is the major barrier between the inside and outside of your body because it is a complete barrier between the outer environment and the inner environment. What are the function? You very well understand the function because of it is a protective covering outside. ये बैक की तरफ से कवरिंग है, तो सारी जो इसकी एक्टिविटी है वो डिपेंड करती है from the exterior as well as the interior. Protection, it protects against the UV lights and many other stresses, mechanical stretch, or this is protection by the skin, dehydration, invasion of microorganism. अल्लाह ताला की तरफ से ये कितना एक इनाम है कि ये स्किन जो है ये फॉरेन इन्वेजन को कम्प्लीटली ब्लॉक करती है और डिहाइड्रेशन भी रोकती है, वाटर को कंजर्व करती है, प्रोटेक्ट करती है स्ट्रेसेस से। फिर दूसरा फंक्शन क्या है? सेंसेशन. स्किन कैरियर्स हैज रिसेप्टर दैट सेंस टच, प्रेशर, पेन एंड टेम्परेचर because it contains many nerve endings and is specialized receptors which convey sensation from the outer environment to the higher center. Thermoregulation means controlling the temperature of the body. Various features of the skin are involved in regulating temperature of the body, for example, sweat gland, hair, and adipose tissue. So, इन 3 फैक्टर से, ग्लैंड से, स्वेट ग्लैंड से, हेयर से और एडिपोज टिश्यू से स्किन जो मॉनिटर करती है बॉडी टेम्परेचर को, इवेपोरेशन से, फिर कंजर्वेशन से हीट को बाय एडिपोज टिश्यू, फिर उसके बाद हेयर फॉलिकल्स हैं उनके सेंसेशंस के डिपेंड करती है, उससे हम उसको टेम्परेचर रेगुलेट करते हैं. मेटाबॉलिक फंक्शन, सबक्यूटेनियस एडिपोज टिश्यू इज इन्वॉल्व इन प्रोडक्शन ऑफ विटामिन डी एंड ट्राइग्लिसराइड. So it is important because vitamin D during sunlight, the production of vitamin D is necessary for the activity of the bone as well as the regulation of the kidney activity. Layer of the skin from outermost, we start with the epidermis, is the thin portion that is keratinized. स्ट्रेटिफाइड स्क्वेमस एपिथेलियम से बनता है. एपिथेलियम याद रखें, स्ट्रेटिफाइड स्क्वेमस, केराटिनाइज्ड एपिथेलियम. The epidermis is important for protective function of the skin. The basal layer of this epithelium are folded to form dermal papilla. The skin contains the 4 types of cellular layer and thick skin contains 5. So this layer of epidermis contains 4 layers in thin skin and thick skin contains 5 layers. The epithelium you have to be very much remember it, that is the stratified squamous keratinized epithelium. The dermis is the next layer, thicker inner layer. This is almost a layer formed by the connective tissue elements, important for sensation, protection, and thermoregulation. It contains nerves, blood supply, fibroblasts, and collagen elastic fibers are more prominently present, as well as sweat gland, which open up into the surface of the skin. And in some region here, the apical layer of the dermis are folded to form dermal papilla, which are particularly prominent in thick skin. So dermis जो है, it is mostly fibers with the skin appendages present in it, blood vessel, fibroblasts, all types of fibers, collagen, elastic, and reticular. blood vessel prominent, then the nerve endings, nerve fibers, sweat gland, hair follicles, and it is thrown into multiple folds, invaginate in the epidermis to form the dermal papilla. Hypodermis, this is a layer underneath the dermis. It mainly contains adipose tissue, sweat gland. The adipose tissue has metabolic function. It is responsible for production of vitamin D and triglyceride. This adipose tissue is variable region-wise. ये भी याद रखना है कि this hypodermis में जो adipose tissue है, it is variable in region-wise. At some places, especially the abdomen, groin, the adipose tissue is prominent, where in the lids and in the scalp and the dorsum of the hand, there is little amount of the adipose tissue like this. So this is the patchy distribution. In female, it forms a cushion, it forms the contour of the body. So its variability depends on its functional aspects. Now, this is the hypothetical diagram of determining where is the epidermis and where is the dermis and hypodermis. Look at the picture. Now, the most superficial layer is the epidermis, outermost layer, which is made up of keratin. Beneath this is the layers of the epidermis. It is stratified squamous keratinized epithelium, multi-layered. Then this is the part which is known as the dermis, consisting of the sebaceous gland, sweat gland, the hair follicles and hairy skin, and then the various types of connective tissue elements, blood vessel. And then is the hypodermis, the area beneath the dermis, which is a thin layer. It contains the sweat gland and the bulb of the hair follicle along with the rectal pili. So this is the division of all the three layers. Now in this lecture we will only discuss today the epidermis. Now the epidermis is the most superficial layer of skin, the first barrier to protect the foreign invasion, and it is layered by the keratin protein, which is a thick protein formed by the keratinocytes. As the name indicates, these are the site cells जो कि keratin बनाएंगे, superficially वो deposit होगी. The epidermis is subdivided into four layers or stratum. The stratum germinativum, the stratum spinosum, the stratum granulosum, and stratum corneum. Stratum germinativum is the basal layer, also called as stratum basalis. ये वो layer है जो कि basally located होती है, separated from the dermis with the basal membrane, and it has the potency that it can regenerate all the cellular layer of the epidermis. So it is very vascular. It is also a nutrient layer of the upper layers, and they also give the all types of progeny of the incoming shedding cells from the superficial layer, containing all the elements of the mitotic figures are present in this layer. Now look at the picture. So this is the epidermis layer, the keratin layer superficially. This is the epidermis, stratified squamous keratinized epithelium. The basal layer is more nuclear because the cells are tightly packed with the help of the junction complexes between the layers of the cell. The basal layer is relatively a tall columnar cell. It is called as stratum basalis, also called stratum germinativum. This is the same picture: keratin layer, stratified squamous keratinized epithelium. This is the dermis. This is the basal area. This basal cell are usually high cuboidal or columnar in shape. Stratum germinativum provides the germinal cell necessary for the regeneration of the layer of epidermis, separated by the dermis by a thin layer of basement membrane. ये बात आपने याद रखनी है. ये सेल जो हैं, they are located basally, low, columnar or high cuboidal. They are having the potential to regenerate all the shedding layers from the superficial aspects of the epidermis. So these cells, when move upward, they show keratohydral granules, production of protein, that is keratin. So it is a progressive layer starting from basal side up to the superficial corneum layer. Look look at the picture. So this is the hypocubital cell. This is the basal membrane. Now, the cells are hypocubital, nucleus is central. There is the desmosome in between. Desmosome, so they will give the added protection from basal side of the skin. These desmosome will tightly attach the cell with each other. Now these are keratin fibers. Now these basal cells produce the keratinocytes. Look at the picture. This is the keratinocyte granules, keratin layer starting appearing. Now look at the picture. This is a protein envelope, and the cell almost become fusiform. This is polyhedral, cell become fusiform. Ultimately, they lost their nucleus. Over here, well-defined nucleus, but they have lost their nucleus, but they have a well-defined junctional complexes. So junctional complexes adhere the cells with each other. Ultimately, the superficial layer become keratin, almost keratin with lipid molecule. Intercellular lipids, keratin layer, lamellar body release lipids. These are lamellar bodies between the laminae of the various cells. These are made up of lipids. This is the protein envelope. Keratin granules are there. Lipid filled lamellar bodies. So this is the progressive staging from the basal side, basal cell, up to the stratum spinosum. Polyhedral cell with granules in the cytoplasm. Nucleus is still there. Ultimately, nucleus will shed, and the keratohydrin granules will appear within the cytoplasm and the lamellar lipid bodies, and then they become sheet-like. Ultimately, they become dead tissue made up of keratohydrin substances with lipid molecules. This is the progressive staging of the stratum germinativum, starting from the basal side up to superficial keratin layer. Stratum spinosum, the next layer is the cell that divides the stratum germinativum, soon begin to accumulate many desmosome on their outer surface, which provide a characteristic prickle in appearance. Stratum spinosum, also called a prickle cell layer. अब इसको prickle cell formation में आप देखें, इसको मैंने मैग्नीफाई किया है इस डायग्राम में. This nucleus is still present. The cytoplasm is full of keratohydrin granules. Look at the picture, and the cells are adhere with each other with the typical desmosome. So they were desmosomes are like finger-like, prickle type. So prickling appearance जो इस stratum में नजर आएगी. This is due to the desmosome present between the cell, adjacent cell. In this diagram, the prickling appearance is more prominent. Look at this white spot, blackish spots all around the cell. This is the prickling appearance of the desmosome. Basal layer, stratum spinosum, still nucleated. And this is granular layer, still present nuclei, but the granules have become prominent. The horny layer or clear layer, which is nucleated avascular, only keratin and lipid molecules are there. Stratum granulosum, the progressive maturation of keratinocytes is characterized by accumulation of keratin, called keratinization. अब stratum जो spinosum है जब वो further develop होगी, progressively mature on keratinocyte, they become accumulation of keratin protein. This process is called as keratinization. The cell of the stratum granulosum accumulate dense basophilic keratohydrin granules. Basophilic. These granules contain, along with desmosome connection, help to form a barrier to prevent the fluid loss as well as foreign invasion. इसमें आप देख लें कि stratum spinosum have a nucleus with well-defined nucleolus. The cell is protein synthesizing. ये आपके जहन में क्लियर हो जाना चाहिए कॉन्सेप्ट कि प्रोटीन सिंथेसाइजिंग क्या है. Having a well-defined nucleolus, all the elements of organelle present within the cytoplasm concerned for protein synthesis. तो इसमें आप देखें कि the nuclei become pycnotic, they become more prominent, and then they lost their integrity and they vanish, and ultimately form the keratin, whole of the keratin layer in the superficial part. So this will provide a barrier for fluid loss as well as foreign invasion. No, this is the basophilic, highly basophilic keratohyalin granules. Look at the picture, purplish in color. Purplish in color is the presence of the these keratohyalin granules. In this diagram, it is hypothetical. Look at the picture. So keratohyalin granules, then superficial layer is the avascular as well as anucleated keratin layer. Stratum lucidum. This lucidum is normally only well seen in thick epidermis and represent a transition from the stratum granulosum to the stratum corneum. Quite obvious. ये वो लेयर है जो आपको थिक में प्रोमिनेंटली नजर आएगी. ये ट्रांजिशन करेगी फ्रॉम दी न्यूक्लियर लेयर टू दी ए न्यूक्लियर लेयर. ये बात याद रखें कि न्यूक्लियर लेयर से एक न्यूक्लियर लेयर पे ये ट्रांजिशन करेगी. तो कॉर्नियम मीन हॉर्न लाइक thick initial formation of keratin is stratum corneum. Now stratum lucidum in this diagram is this one layer. Lucidum is relatively a juvenile keratin layer, not fully matured. Transition between the stratum granulosum to the lucidum, ultimately stratum corneum. This is the thick layer of the keratin along the lipid. So this is transitional layer between the thick skin present between the granulosum and the stratum corneum. In this diagram, you see this is the highly basophilic keratohyalin layer, and then the layer of stratum lucidum. So over here the juvenile formation of keratin layer, ultimately the keratin stratum corneum will be formed. So this is the thick skin characteristic feature. Stratum corneum is the outermost layer of the epidermis consisting of dead cell corneocytes that lack nuclei and organelle. Desquamation, the process of shedding from the surface of stratum corneum, balance proliferation from granulocyte from the basal layer. अब यह क्लियर हो गया कि the outermost skin जो है it is covered by a keratohyalin layer. This keratohyalin layer is made up by the corneocytes. These corneocytes are the cells which lack nuclei and organelle, fully packed with the keratin layer, keratin protein, along with lipid molecule. This is the layer which is constantly shed during wear and tear phenomena. ये वो लेयर है जो हर वक्त शेड होती रहती है, सेल डिस्ट्रॉय होते रहते हैं. But nature has provided a mechanism that from the basal side, the cells move upward to replace the shedding cells from the superficial layer. So this cornea is the protective layer, foreign invasion, UV light protection, all the functions are maintained in this stratum corneum layer. Now this is the comparison of types of skin, thin and thick skin. In this slide you see 5 layers in thick skin, prominent stratum corneum, for example in sole of the foot and palm of the hand. Relatively, sole of the foot is the best example. Well developed stratum granulosum, palm of the hand and sole of the foot. Thinner dermis, no hair and sebaceous gland. ये बात याद रखनी है. नो हेयर एंड स्पेशस ग्लैंड, थिनर डर्मस है, हैंड्स जो हैं सोल इसके एग्जाम्पल है. स्ट्रेटम ग्रैनुलोसम वेल डिफाइंड. वाई बच्चों में तो ये आपको आना चाहिए. क्यों ऐसा है? बिकॉज दी ग्रैनुलोसम इज प्रोमिनेंट. वाई? बिकॉज ऑफ द प्रोडक्शन ऑफ केराटिन प्रोटीन. सो दिस लेयर इज एक्टिव एंड एनर्जेटिक लेयर. ये लेयर फिर जो है वो कॉर्नियम लेयर बनाएगी. सो इसलिए इट इज वेल डेवलप्ड. 5 लेयर. थिन स्किन 4 लेयर. लेस प्रोमिनेंट स्ट्रेटम कॉर्नियम, ऑल्दो keratin is there but not prominent. Less developed stratum granulosum, quite obvious, dominant and lying most of the body surfaces. Thicker dermis, hair and sebaceous gland. Dermis जो होगी वो thick होगी, hairs होंगे और sebaceous gland भी होंगे. So this is the difference between the two types of the skin. ये आपको मेमोराइज करनी है. ये डायग्राम भी दी गई हैं, इनमें आप देख लें कि thickness of the stratum corneum is prominent, granulosum is more prominent, granulosum is relatively less developed. Dermis is prominent. Dermis is scarce in the thick skin. You understand this diagram? Now look at the difference. So this is you have to memorize. Now the types of the epidermal cell. अब हम बात करेंगे कौन कौन से जो सेल्स हैं वो नज़र आते हैं इन द एपिडर्मस सेल में, एपिडर्मस में, एपिडर्मस जो लेयर स्किन उसमें कौन कौन से सेल नज़र आते हैं. On my right side, this is the cell types: dead keratinocytes, living keratinocyte, melanocyte, epidermal dendritic cell, tactile cell, and sensing nerve ending. So these all are the 5 cells which are the present within the epidermis. So inshallah हम next lecture में अब इनको one by one discuss करेंगे and along with the dermis next lecture में. Thank you very much. Today sufficient.